Hey there, I'm Avip. Welcome to the audiobook of my fanfic, Muitiverse Crafter. I don't own RWBY or any of its characters. This is a non-profit fan project made just for fun and shared for free. All rights belong to their original creators. Before we start, I want to let you know that since I'm not fluent in speaking English yet, the narration is AI generated. I hope you still enjoy the story and the world I've created. Thanks for listening.
Chapter 26. Point of view, Adam Taurus. Today, my steps lead me to a nightmare scenario. A White Fang outpost, once a strategic stronghold, now lies in ruins. The air is filled with the metallic smell of blood, and the sickly stench of death as mutilated bodies lie strewn across the ground. We were responding to a distress signal that requested my help. Something warranted my personal presence. Other members warned me that it could be a trap, but I assured them that no human or robot would be able to overcome me in combat. "Commander Tauros," says a lynx faunus who accompanied me on this mission, "you need to see this." I respond with a nod and follow him to the place I'm needed. My heart beats wildly as I walk through the rubble and dismembered corpses. Pain and fury intertwine in my chest as I recognize some of the victims. My friends, my brothers in arms, lay scattered across the floor like broken dolls, their faces frozen in expressions of terror and pain. The sight of the cruelty that befell them fills me with helpless rage, a fury that burns through my veins like white-hot lava. What happened here? Who could inflict such carnage? I think in silence. Further ahead, two of my agents were examining the radio, and next to the equipment was the body of a young faunus. "The distress signal that called you came from here," he mentioned the technician evaluating the radio. As soon as I get closer, I stop when I notice the young faunus situation. He was no more than 16 years old. Both legs and one of his arms were cut off. At first glance it looked like the cut wounds had been cauterized with a hot iron. His horns broken, his skin torn open from brutal blows. "What kind of monster would do such a thing?" asks the technician. "Dark steel," he suggests the faunus lynx who accompanied me here. I remain silent. I let them believe that this was the work of Jaune Arc, but the body of the young man in front of me makes it clear that this was not an act of pure sadism. His legs and one of his arms were cut off to ensure he couldn't get out of where the victim was placed. His arm was spared so he could use the radio and call for help, a cruel but effective tactic. "How long has it been since he died?" I ask in a dry tone. "A few hours, probably from shock from the injuries." I stand up thoughtfully, examining the slaughter. Doors were broken, but no important structures such as beams, towers, or walls were torn down. The place just needs to be cleaned, and its doors repaired to be useful again. Why so much death and mutilation without causing any damage to the structures? I think to myself. I need more information. Was something stolen? I ask no one in particular. "No, sir." I turn sharply, scaring the agent. He jolts as I walk up to the agent who answered my question and looked at him intensely. "Are you sure?" "Why, yes, sir," he replies, stuttering. "Rations, weapons, ammunition, dust, vehicles, and other miscellaneous items. Everything is here according to the warehouse manifest. Everything the quartermaster logged." "Shit," I mumble with my blood boiling. "This wasn't just an attack. Someone is trying to send me a message." Point of view, Amber Stone. "You know, I'm starting to regret coming along." I complain without using the red-headed white girl disguise. "For what reason, Miss Stone?" Delta asks. I thought that on the second day, the boy was going to do something like blow up the island or declare war, but he stayed all day playing with orphans and healing the wounded. "I believe this unit is unable to understand the nature of your complaint," notes the digital voice that sounded more like an emotionless robot than church, "but I can send your complaint to Master Arc if it is of interest to you." No need," I respond, getting up from the inflatable mattress I've been using to sleep on the ship. I don't want to be known as the woman who hates orphans and who finds it boring to heal the wounded. As soon as I stand up, I sigh tiredly and walk towards the cooler that Jaune had left stocked for me. It's a shame the kid didn't add some beers. I lament as I pick up a chocolate drink I've never seen before. "Tidinho," I say the name out loud, trying to remember if I saw something like that circulating, but nothing comes to mind. I take the straw out of the plastic, and stick it in the designated area before the wonder of chocolate milk enters my mouth. I moan out loud, satisfied. This is really good, huh? I comment, taking another sip of the drink. I haven't moaned like that since my summer vacation in Vacuo, haven't I, Delta? But I regret to inform you that I do not have enough data for a conclusive answer, Miss Stone. I always forget that unlike Church, Delta is not a sentient being. Damn, being here alone is already making me nervous, I mutter to myself as I take another sip of Tadinho. The sweet, creamy taste calms me down a little, but the frustration with the situation is still present. I look out the aircraft window, taking in the seaside landscape of Menagerie. It is a beautiful place of mesmerizing deserts and paradisiacal beaches, but it is also a place marked by poverty and violence. Jaune is determined to help the faunus of Menagerie. I admire your compassion and idealism, but I can't help but worry. He's young and inexperienced, and his plans don't seem well thought out. Maybe I'm being too pessimistic, I think out loud. Maybe Jaune can really make a difference here. Suddenly, Delta stops me. Miss Stone, I need your attention. What was it? I ask between sips of Tadinho. Mr. Arc has requested that I inform you of his plans for Menagerie, since you are apparently here as an escort. Plans? I ask, curious. What kind of plans? Delta explains to me Jaune's plan to have Atlas recognize Menagerie as a sovereign nation, similar to the Four Kingdoms. I am shocked by the news. The plan is ambitious, bold, and even dangerous. This is crazy, I exclaim, spitting out the Tadinho I was drinking, staining my clothes. He can't do that. I understand your surprise, Miss Stone. Mr. Arc's plan is risky, but he believes it is the only way to ensure a peaceful and prosperous future for the faunus of Menagerie. But this is an invitation to chaos, I argue. Imagine the reaction of the other kingdoms. They will never accept Menagerie as an equal. Mr. Arc is aware of the challenges, Miss Stone. He is confident that with the support of the faunus and his allies, he can overcome any obstacle. I don't know what to say, I say, still in shock. This is a lot to process. In addition to the attention of the Four Kingdoms, he also attracts the eyes of the Queen of Grims. Miss Stone, Mr. Arc needs your support. He believes in you and your abilities. I know he believes. I say thoughtfully, but I don't know if I can help you with that. It's up to you to decide whether or not to help Mr. Arc in his endeavors. Shit. Point of view, Jaune Arc. In the house of the Belladonnas I was sleeping soundly. Some would say I was sleeping the sleep of the righteous. Cobras fumantes, eterna e acute sua vittoria. That is until that blue asshole plays Sabaton smoking snakes at full volume. Rise from the blood of your heroes. I'm already on my feet, I complained, getting up from the futon. Good morning, commented Church from the scroll next to my pillow. Yesterday you missed breakfast with Blake's parents and promised you would cook with Carly in the morning to make up for it. Thanks, I grumbled to Ari, who was enjoying my suffering. By the way, yesterday the children ate so much candy that half of them went to bed with a stomach ache. That koala faunus banned you from going back there for a week. Even though I don't like the idea of children suffering, they need a day of fun and celebration. They had suffered a lot, in addition to having lost their fathers and mothers. In their eyes, it was evident that they were operating in survival mode. If you go back there, think before you distribute candy and junk food. Believe me, Church, those orphans needed this. The dark tone of my voice touched Church to the point where he changed the subject. Let's talk about the results of your walk yesterday. Did you get the information you wanted? Walking to the bathroom, I give a summary of what I learned yesterday. Shared suffering brought the faunus of Menagerie together in a way that goes beyond words. They support each other, finding comfort and strength in the difficulties they share. But even with this mutual help, life is a delicate dance between hope and despair. They live in humble homes built with love and sweat. Their children play in the dusty streets, laughing and dreaming of a better world. At night, people gather around bonfires, sharing stories of courage and resistance. This makes it difficult to help them, because whenever I tried to ask directly or offer help to any faunus, I was repelled with insults and promises of violence. If it weren't for Aura and the super soldier serum, I would fear for my life just walking down the streets. They didn't seem so needy to me, especially with such happy children playing in the streets. Children on the streets have families, their parents suffer in silence for their happiness, I comment in a somber tone. I finished washing up in the bathroom and put on my huntsman gear, since today I plan to visit another Grimm's hotspot. What do you mean by parents who suffer in silence? The majority of children on the streets are well nourished and live a happy life with their families, but many fathers and mothers suffer from anemia. I even saw some elderly people literally starving. How does Gira allow something like this? They can't have food for everyone, church, I comment, leaving the room. In a survival mindset, adults go hungry so children can eat well, at least those who are good fathers and mothers. You speak as if you've experienced it firsthand. I breathe tiredly at the AI's insight. Am I an open book to you? Church responds with a shrug before speaking. The bad thing about having your feelings raw is that others can take advantage of them. I nod my head before opening up. I don't remember exactly because I was very young at the time. But in my past life, my uncles informed me about the difficulties my father and mother went through so that my brother and I wouldn't go through the same thing. It may have been difficult for them, but seeing you and your brother happy and healthy was the most important thing in the world to them. Yes, I respond, muttering with slightly teary eyes. I'm proud to be their son, and I hope the original Jaune was as lucky as me with parents just as wonderful. I walk slowly towards the kitchen, where Carly is waiting for me with a smile on her face and a pink apron in her hands. Point of view, Carly Belladonna. The aroma of fresh coffee wafted through the air as I fried some eggs in the pan. Jaune was next to me taking something he made on his own out of the oven. The name of the dish is cheese bread. Since he arrived, Jaune had always been a cheerful young man, with an infectious smile and a zest for life that was hard to ignore. But today his movements were slow, and his smile seemed forced, as if he was hiding something. Jaune, is everything okay? I ask, trying to hide my concern. He looked at me for a brief moment, his blue eyes clouded with a nostalgic sadness. Yes, of course, he says, his voice wavering, just a little tired. Of course I didn't believe him. His posture was different, he was hunched over and his radiant smile seemed pale and forced. There was something else going on, something he was hiding from me. But I didn't want to pressure him, so I continued stirring the dough in silence. I reached out and placed my hand on his shoulder. I know we've only known you for a short time, Jaune, but you've already done so much for our family and menagerie. I say, trying to comfort him. Please, you can open up to me. The boy was standing still. He even seemed paralyzed by my statement. I thought maybe I had crossed the line, that maybe I had forced too much of the intimacy I thought I had with the young human, but as soon as a genuine, but tired smile blossomed on his face, leaving me relieved. Blake is so lucky to have you as a mom, says the young man, smiling but with a tear running down his face. Even though his eyes were watering, the genuine happiness in the young man's words and smile was evident. Oh, Jaune, unable to contain myself at such a wonderful and sincere comment, I hugged the young human. You can tell me anything. Jaune sighed heavily, as if he was preparing to exert himself physically. I'm sorry, it's just that, he responds, returning the hug. My feelings come to the surface easily in the morning talking to church. We talked about a sensitive subject for me. And then he told me everything. He told of the fathers and mothers of menagerie, who proudly go hungry to ensure their children have enough to eat, and how this resonated with him as his father and mother had done the same for him and his brother. Ding! The oven, Jaune exclaims, breaking away from the hug. At first I found the statement strange. The Arc family is very old and powerful. It is impossible that Jaune's parents had been in need. But anyone who had heard the confession from Jaune's mouth would know that he was telling the truth, not only because he has no reason to lie, but his words carry true emotions tied to his past. Test 1. Then the boy passed me a strange baked white cupcake with a golden crust. Holding what Jaune called cheese bread, I feel the heat emanating from its golden surface, inviting me to take the first bite. The crispy crust gives way under my teeth, revealing a soft, moist interior that melts in your mouth. The salty flavor of the cheese mixes with the light and airy texture, creating a symphony of sensations that transports me to paradise. I close my eyes and focus on every detail of the experience. The buttery aroma invades my nostrils, while the irresistible flavor makes me want more and more. Unintentionally, I moan while eating the deliciousness. I think you liked it. The boy smiles again, as if he hadn't opened his heart a few seconds ago. Sir Arc, states Gira entering the kitchen, someone at the gate wants to talk to you. Jaune asks curiously. She too, go ahead, and I want to talk to my wife and try one of those cupcakes that smell so good. Gira responds, reaching for a cheese bread. Still finding the surprise visit strange, Jaune removes his apron and left the kitchen towards the main gate. As soon as we were alone, Gira turns to me and begins talking. I heard everything, my husband comments between bites. You know it's a story full of holes, right? You didn't see him, Gira. He was really emotional, there's no way he could have lied. I reply in a melancholic tone. With one hand, Gira picks up several cheese rolls and approaches me. Sentimentality cannot blind us, Carly, especially with someone we know so little about. What are you trying to say? I am grateful for what the young man is doing for us and the fairness of menagerie, but perhaps it was hasty of us to welcome him into our home. Gira Belladonna, I exclaim, pointing my finger accusingly at his chest. That boy will bring our daughter back, and by the grace of the brother gods and the god of animals, he will be the father of our grandchildren. The words came out of my mouth with such force that surprised even myself. Frustration and anger were bubbling inside me, and I couldn't stop myself. Gira stares at me for a moment, his eyes full of surprise, but soon his expression softened and he sat down next to me, placing a hand over mine. Carly, honey, he says quietly, I know you're upset, but we need to be rational about this. We can't just put all our hopes in a boy we barely know. But Gira, you saw him, I beg. You saw the passion in his eyes when he talked about his family. He is such a kind, sensitive young man who knows how to cook and is willing to help whenever he can. I cried out loud. He's perfect for Blake. Gira sighed tiredly. Are you sure it's not because Jaune Arc is Adam's opposite that you want him with our daughter? Remember, Adam was once like him. No, Adam was exactly like him. If weren't that his worldview had become so drastically polarized, I believe they could have been good friends. People change, Carly. What will we do once he leaves? We can't rely on one man for our people's prosperity, no matter your personal feeling on the matter. Gira stands in the kitchen, hand holding a scone, his face solemn. Eyes stared blankly into the wall by me, but I know him well enough to know that his mind is alight with what could have been better times, and what is to come with this new foreigner in this land under his protection. Gira's words hit me like a punch in the gut. He was right, I was letting emotion get the best of me. Jaune was a brave and kind young man, but I had only known him for a few days. It was crazy to think he was Blake's savior. I don't know, I reply, my voice weak. Suddenly, I need to sit as Gira moves to support me. I just want my daughter to be safe and happy, I finish. Gira hugs me, pulling me close. Me too, darling, he murmurs onto the top of my head, hugging me. Me too. Point of view, Jaune Arc. I didn't expect that, comments Church in my ear. Despite agreeing with the voice that came out through Scouter, I thought it prudent not to say it out loud. Greetings, human, says the hooded figure on the left with a fox tail. The white fang salutes you, completes the hooded figure on the right with fox ears. They were Corsac and Fennec Albane, brothers with dark skin, dark hair and faunus fox features. In the original series they aren't very strong, despite having an awakened aura, but their cultist vibe added to the sinister stereotype of twins who complete what the other says is giving me chills. I reply, skin crawling at being in their eerie presence, somewhat embarrassed. We learn that His Grace, Chieftain Belladonna, has provided you with a local guide, Corsac says in a harsh sound, almost whispering. Would such a statement be true, human? Fennec completes the question, making the word human sound, as if something he'd found on the sole of his shoe. Ish, I squeak out loud without meaning to. I didn't mean to offend, but the tone in which they keep calling me human, and these two on top of that, seemed like a male and Latin version of the twins from The Shining. Yes, this is true, replies a female voice behind them, and the guide would like you two to stop talking as if she weren't here. Audra is overflowing with irritation and aggression, and although I didn't wish that discomfort on her, it was interesting to see her irritated with someone who wasn't me, for a change. Wanting to end this conversation quickly, I responded with a nod. "Splendid," comments the twin with fox ears. "We are here with a proposal for you." A gesture of good faith by the White Fang to demonstrate that we can coexist with humans who treat us with due respect, completes the twin with a fox tail. They both had a disturbing smile on their faces. "Okay," my tone was more discouraged than I thought. I already don't like these two Manson family wannabe, but then you add all their pomp and prose of a sinister evil cult trying to pretend to be friendly. This is really weird. I'll listen politely to the proposal, but I'll deny whatever shit they say, I think to myself. "By the way," whispers Church in Scouter my ear without anyone else hearing, "since you're playing politician, it's not a good idea to deny these guys without a really good excuse." "Shit," I grunt loudly, turning my face away. Point of view, Ilya Amatola. The great leader Khan ordered the Albane to make an offer to the human, to demonstrate that the White Fang is not against his presence on the island, to offer one of our members as extra security, along with the commander who already accompanies her. From this human's facial expressions of discomfort, I thought he had realized our plan to get someone close to him to get information, but as soon as he heard the offer, he immediately accepted me as his bodyguard. Go, 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 go. Go. Gotta go fast. Audra Taurus was furious with the proposal. The last thing she wanted was to be involved with the White Fang. Even though I don't agree with her point of view, I respect her for everything she did for Menagerie, and the Faunus call the island home. If the human hadn't calmed her down, Audra would have attacked the Albion brothers for helping Sienna lead Adam astray. Gotta go fast. Gotta go faster, 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 faster. Why don't you turn IT off? The commander of the Menagerie Guard shouted. We were sitting on beach chairs on top of a dune. A large canvas tent had been erected to protect us from the sun. Because if I turn off the scroll, it will turn on the car stereo at the same time, the red-haired human replied. Then relax and enjoy the strange, repetitive music, which is probably from a stupid cartoon. I didn't want to agree with the human, but this song was unbearably childish. Moving at the speed of sound. I'm the quickest hedgehog around. I get up from the chair, moving away from the two of them and that horrible music. From the top of the dune, I saw my target, Jaune Arc. The man I'm supposed to be watching is skating in his air shoes across the savage sand sea, which in itself would be an unusual sight. However, while Jaune Arc skates, he is also being chased by a school of sand jaws. Terrible grims that inhabit this region, the beast looked like a mutation of a shark that, in addition to having the ability to swim in the sand, has arms and legs with claws as sharp as the teeth in its jaw. I don't know if he's brave or crazy, I mutter to myself. As he watched, one of the dune jaw charged at the human, jumping out of the sand trying to grab him. Chomp! But the human dodges by doing a pirouette. You're too slow, mocks Jaune in a cartoon voice. His movements were simple, but his reflexes, response time and speeds were incredible. He was too fast to be just an apprentice huntsman. He's crazy, I comment looking at the blonde being chased by 7 grim sharks and with 3 more approaching. Why is he doing this? Training, the red-haired human responds, drinking chocolate milk from a brown box. Training, I question the answer. The human gets up and comes to my side and points her finger at Jaune. Despite his talent and physical aptitude, the boy did not have a standard education when compared to the other huntsmen apprentices in Vale. She comments, calmly examining Jaune movements. With skating, he trains balance and agility, improving his ability to move with fluidity and precision in the midst of chaotic battles. Strength and resistance are necessary due to the constant need to propel oneself with skates and avoid obstacles, strengthening the individual's leg muscles and core, increasing their strength and physical resistance for prolonged combat. But why risk being eaten? I ask in astonishment. This time it was Audra who spoke up. The constant threat of sharks in the sand forces Jaune to maintain a state of high alert, enhancing his spatial awareness and ability to react instantly to unexpected dangers. Explains Audra as if skating with sharks were a common workout. This ability is crucial for anticipating opponents' attacks in combat. He is also training in aura control, complete the red-haired human. It feeds the muscles with energy when they need to move away and also prevents things like muscle fatigue and cramps. I finally understand Sienna's fears and why she suspected he could be so dangerous. I faced the human deftly dodging another shark that was approaching. He was more than a fool with resources and time to spare. He is a formidable warrior with unlimited potential, a clever strategist who knows how to make the best use of his time, and is a charismatic figure who is helping the helpless. I clench my fists as disgust and anger begin to boil inside my mind. Jaune Arc was shaping his own destiny, and he is using menagerie as a tool to do so. Point of view, Arthur Watts. I kneel before the imposing figure of Salem, Queen of the Grimms. Her ember-red eyes pierce me as she stares at me, assessing my intentions. Arthur Watts, she murmurs dismissively, you dare interrupt my plans with your petitions. My hands shake, but I keep my gaze steady. 1,000 pardons, my queen, but I came to ask for your permission to travel to Atlas. But there are rumors of a new technology that I need to investigate. She tilts her head, her night black hair falling over her shoulders. Atlas, why should I allow you to go there? The plan for the fall of Beacon is at a crucial stage. I take a deep breath, gathering what little courage I have left for being alone before the most powerful being in all of Remnant. But my part has already been completed successfully, Your Majesty. The Black Queen virus is already in your student's possession. I explain in a respectful tone. If she can successfully install it on Beacon's CTT tower, I can support her from anywhere in the world that has coverage from one of the towers, including Atlas. Salem frowns, looking at me in disgust. I'm not known for being flexible or enjoying being contradicted, Arthur, and I'm not convinced that a human toy is worthy of putting my machinations at risk. From the shadows of his throne 2 Beowulfs emerge and begin to circle me menacingly. Please, my queen, the words come out before I can stop them. I have allies in Atlas, people who can provide me with information without arousing suspicion. If my absence doesn't please you, I can then try to contact one of them. She considers my words as the dark monsters approach, growling towards me. Arthur, she whispers menacingly from the throne, if you fail in your little project, there will be no forgiveness. The fall of Beacon is our priority. I nod, feeling the weight of responsibility. Understood, Your Majesty, I won't disappoint you. Salem rises from the dark throne. Go then, but remember that your stability on my advice is fragile like glass. You will be eaten alive if you betray our cause. With one last look, she grants me her permission. I stand up, silently thanking him. My destiny is sealed and the arc reactor is my only hope for redemption. Point of view, Jaune Arc. Today was a productive day, I think to myself. Multiverse crafting system. What would you like to do? Magic, 85,463 points. Aura, 100%. Sitting in the passenger seat of the Nomad, I evaluate the points I earned today. I lost count of how much sand jaw I destroyed, but it was enough to recoup what I spent at the almshouse on lesser restoration potions, senzu beans, food and sweets. Taking into account that every Grimm I killed today gave me 1,000 MP, I killed almost 30 of them. Same procedure as yesterday, Amber asks, disguised while driving. Let's go to the ship and then you get off and walk back. Yes, I respond as if it were no big deal. The problem is that for the new member of our group this was no big deal. Why don't you go into town with this car or your ship? Asks the chameleon Faunus sitting behind me. This annoying girl questioned all my actions for the day, I thought to myself. Church even thought I was bothered just because she was a lesbian, which isn't true. Any redhead who wants to hang out with me is welcome, and Ilya Amatola is cute. After she introduced herself as my bodyguard, courtesy of the White Fang, she spent the entire day scowling at me with her arms crossed, not to mention her less than subtle interrogation questions. I just didn't send her home, because I'm afraid that the alternative would be to send one of the cultist brothers in her place. It will attract attention and generate a lot of commotion. To avoid this, we land far from the city where we have tree cover. All right, she responds in a dry tone. I admit I'm not the most perceptive guy in the world when it comes to other people's intentions, but even to me it was clear that Ilya was bothered by something. My train of thought about Ilya's intentions is cut off by a signal coming from the Nomad's dashboard. Ping is. At the same time, car's dashboard zoomed in on the map of the region, focusing on the vehicle's surroundings. Do you need me to stop the car? Amber asks. Just slows it down, I murmur, analyzing the scanner data. Interesting. While I was entertained by the information, Ilya moved, placing her body between the passenger and driver seats. What is all this? Ilya asks. I'm not sure before I pass it on to the ship's computers. I say while passing the data on to Church to analyze, but hopefully a water vein, mineral deposit, or even dust. Surprised, Ilya raised an eyebrow in confusion, not understanding why I was doing this. If there is an easily accessible vein of water, we can install an artesian well, which would make it viable to build an outpost for grim sightings or even a satellite city. Satellite city, this time the curious one was RWBY. It would be something like a small town with its own identity, I respond without looking back, reading Church's analysis. But administratively, it would be under the umbrella of Quana and Chieftain Belladonna. RWBY whistles, impressed with my explanation. You're smarter than you look, kid. Why does everyone say that to me? I ask, irritated. RWBY and Amber laugh at my frustration, but Ilya for some reason sits silently staring at the floor of the vehicle. Are mineral and dust deposits important too? She asks our new member without looking at me. For sure, I responded promptly. But Menagerie doesn't have the resources to extract those. As she had returned to her seat behind me, I couldn't see Ilya's face, but her monotone made her look despondent or sad about something. That may be true, but exploration rights can be sold. I respond by focusing even more on Church's report. An outside company comes to do the extraction, and in addition to paying for the right to explore, it shares part of the profits with the country's administrative authorities. Apparently this region has easily accessible water and indications of magnetic anomalies in the reading. That could be signs of a large iron deposit 5 kilometers to the north. Country, what are you talking about? Ask someone I can't identify for having my attention focused on the panel. Without thinking twice, I opened my fucking mouth and spoke the secret that I should have kept away from any member of the White Fang. Menagerie will become a faunus nation with help from Atlas. The uncomfortable silence and the look of astonishment on all the redheads' faces went unnoticed by me. You fucking idiot, Church screamed in my ear. But before I could ask what the scandal was about, another question came from one of the women in the car. What company are you thinking of bringing in to explore Menagerie? I should have noticed the hatred and resentment in the tone of that last question, but once again I answered quickly without thinking. SDCGAC, DHKHHH, GLRDUHHHH. Or at least I started to respond, until someone hanged me with a metal cable. Surprised, I brought my hands to the metal cable wrapped around my neck, cutting off my air supply. GLRGHHH. I struggled and struggled with my hands enough to loosen the cable and be able to ask something. Why at least I tried to ask until I got electrocuted. Filthy human, Ilya growls, you will not take our sanctuary. Whack. A loud punch sounded behind me, followed by two things. The first was the steel cable loosening completely, allowing me to breathe again. Bang, crunch, shatter. The second, Ilya flew out, smashing through the car door. Point of view, Ilya Amatola. My fingers shake as I hold lightning lash around Jaune Arc's neck. For the greater good of the faunus, I think silently to myself like a mantra. It's what keeps me steady, what keeps me from hesitating. But deep down I know it's more than that. It's fear that drives me, the fear that I'm right. That this human is just a wolf in sheep's clothing, an infiltrator of Atlas and the SDC who is preparing the ground to enslave us in political plots. GLRGHHH. But you're not like other humans, at least you seem to care. I think to myself, what if I'm wrong? Doubts begin to eat away at me. What if I'm wrong? What if he's just a good man trying to make a difference? The internal conflict tears me up inside. Am I a simple murderer? I question myself internally. I'm startled by the steel rope loosening, and reflexively I press the electric discharge button. Why Damn human, I growled, trying to shake off my doubts. You will not take our sanctuary, but I was cut with an impact to the side of my skull. Whack! A punch hits my face, reverberating throughout my body. My eyes widened as the force of the blow threw me against the door of the moving vehicle. Bang, crunch, shatter, throwing me out of the car. New and angry voice roars that I didn't expect. You psycho, was this your plan from the beginning? Audra, I whisper, lifting my face from the sand. I'm too new to the island, so I only know Audra by her reputation. And with just one punch, Commander Audra Taurus proved that all the praise stories about her power are true. Aura 32.7%. Is my aura already in yellow? I question, looking at my scroll. She's a force of nature. Even though my aura had absorbed most of the impact, my entire body throbbed in pain, every movement an agony. With heavy eyes, I watched Audra Taurus approach, her imposing silhouette cutting through the frigid desert night air like a spectre of death. Tall and muscular, she was the picture of unbridled fury. In his hands, a huge axe gleamed with the promise of violence. Is that all you understand? Audra asks, looking at me with wide eyes. Does the death of any human justify your struggle? I face Audra with determination, despite the pulsing pain throughout my body. I slowly stand up, wielding lightning lash. No matter how powerful she is, I will not surrender without a fight. You may not understand, Audra. I respond, my voice firm despite the pain. But this fight is not just for me. It is for all who have suffered at the hands of human oppression, for all who have been treated as less than nothing. I am not cattle, and I will not let you or anyone else think so. Audra shoots a sharp look, her axe ready to strike as I throw my arm back, giving momentum to my whip. Ragh, howls Audra, charging towards me. No matter how fast or strong she is, Audra started her run still far from me, making her trajectory predictable. With a confident smile, I electrify lightning lash and attack, meeting my opponent's body. In response, Audra raises her right hand, removing it from her axe and allowing it to be wrapped around the whip. Shock runs through the bovine faunus body, but she just smiles savagely, still advancing on me, ignoring the pain and damage caused to her aura. I hesitate, taking a step back, but I pull the whip, trying to bring her to the ground. Idiot, Audra exclaims, jumping, taking advantage of the momentum of the pull. The tip of the whip releases from her hand. When I look up, the image of the axe warrior eclipses the moon in her great leap. How is this possible? How did she jump so high? I wonder, surprised by the apparent lightness of her body. My surprise unfortunately left me with my guard open, and as if managing to control her speed, Audra began to descend with alarming speed. Startled, I forced my body to take a step back, but I tripped and fell face first. No, I whispered in fear, raising my hands and closing my eyes. Eat this, she screamed, descending like a meteor. K-I-K-O-O-O-O-M. The impact kicked up sand as if a bomb had exploded. I opened my eyes with morbid curiosity, because I hadn't felt the pain in my body. Was the cut so clean that it left me numb at the damaged member? I questioned myself, opening my eyes. The dust began to settle, revealing a strange shadow in front of me. Strange in that it was too big even for Audra. It was the shadow of two people. Why do you protect this assassin? Questions Audra furiously. Answer me, Arc. The human. Its form reveals itself when the desert night wind finishes dispelling the dust cloud. The human I tried to kill a few minutes ago was in front of me, wielding his colourful shield, protecting me from Audra's axe. Why did she try to kill me? Jaune asks in a dry tone. Audra immediately stopped, confused by the question, but before she could respond, he continued speaking. Was she coerced by a Fang member? Did she receive direct orders from Sienna Khan to eliminate me? The human turns, staring at me with cold, calculating eyes. Or did she want to kill me on her own? My body shudders at the behavior, so different from what I had seen during the day. Gone was the image of the happy and silly human, and in his place was a being of cold logic who carefully analyzed me. The great warrior shook her head, freeing herself from the confusion, only to approach the human with a lowered axe and pointing her finger in his face. And does it matter? Questions Audra out loud. That's what those crazy sociopaths do, they kill everyone who opposes their sacred ideals. Audra's mockery tone, when she spoke of sacred ideas, took me by surprise. I know she's not a fan of Fang for Adam cutting ties with her, but I never thought her negative feelings were so strong. At the very least, we need to know if Ilya acted on her own, or if I am a target of the White Fang. Or if I am a target of the White Fang. Furious, Audra huffed, walking away from Jaune and heading to the car. Taking advantage of the distraction caused by the tense atmosphere, I slowly got up without making any noise. I need to get out of here. But just as my body started to change color to camouflage me in the desert, something hit me in the head. Bonk. No, you don't, Nico said, pointing a red wooden stick in my direction. Jaune turned towards us and looked at me with a frown. I'm not against second chances, but I'm still going to handcuff her, declares the red-haired human. For sure, exclaims the human walking towards me. I am merciful, not stupid. There is, good one, said a sarcastic voice coming out of the scroll. So, Nico said, laughing awkwardly. The human sighed tiredly. Thanks team, I really feel loved. Chapter 27. Point of view, Pietro Polandina. The clock on the wall said 7 o'clock at night. I would have gone home more than an hour ago, but ever since I read young Mr. Arc's projects I was overcome by an explosion of inspiration. I haven't felt this motivated since I started working at Penny. Even though it's early, I feel a slight drowsiness finally hitting my eyes. I had been poring over the arc reactor prototype for hours, the project that had consumed every last ounce of my time and energy over the last few weeks. It was an unbelievable dream, the promise of a future where we didn't depend on dust and everyone had access to clean, cheap energy. Ping is. A sharp digital ping snapped me out of my daze. The computer in the center of my desk was receiving a call. Using my chair with spider legs, I moved to the device. At first I was going to answer it as if it were any other call, but as soon as I noticed the caller ID displayed, my eyes widened. Impossible, I murmur in disbelief. There was nothing written where it should have been identified, which kingdom and CCT tower were calling me. I have been called a few times by authorities who have devices and programs designed to hide their information, but even these devices could not hide the tower's identification code. There are only two possibilities here. The person calling me is one of the greatest hackers in all of Remnant, capable of breaking the defenses of Atlas's highest echelon, or Ping is. The sound of the call cuts off my train of thought, bringing me back to the call on my computer. I think I better answer it and see who it is. I grumble, reaching my hand towards the keyboard, and it's not like anyone would be able to communicate without using any of the CCT towers. Accepting the call, the image of a soldier in modern armor appears in front of me. It is all bluish and appears to be semi-transparent with blue codes pulsing across its plates. Sup doc, the soldier said in an informal but polite tone. My name is Church and I would like to have a chat with you. The young soldier's language takes me by surprise, not that I mind talking to less restricted people, but it was certainly rare in Atlas to see someone wearing cutting-edge military equipment being so relaxed. A good night to you too, I responded in a friendly tone, trying to appear calm despite being apprehensive that a stranger was communicating with me on my secure line. What would you like to talk about? At the same time, the holographic projector on the ceiling of my laboratory turned on, and in front of me, the figure of the soldier that was on my monitor materialized in 3 dimensions. Sorry for the invasion and manipulation of your stuff, but I prefer to talk eye to eye, you know. The figure in blue armor said while he wasn't at my eye level because I'm in a wheelchair. Oops, my fault. Its size began to shrink, stopping when it was at the right height to talk to me face to face. I didn't want to say it like that, but the truth is, he begins to speak with a hesitant and slightly embarrassed tone. I'm like a secretary for Jaune Arc. I think you might be familiar with that name by now. My eyes widened in surprise as my body lost all the tension it had built up over the last few minutes. Yes, I speak excitedly. I am familiar with the name and his work, but unfortunately I did not have the pleasure of meeting this person with such a brilliant mind. Ish, said the image, shaking its head negatively. Oh, you poor sweet summer child. Without understanding his reaction and the reference, I shrugged my shoulders while graphics were projected in front of me. So, let's get straight to the point. According your data research that I borrowed for a quick reading, the arc reactor project is almost ready for the preliminary testing phase, but it's missing a crucial piece to make a functional prototype, right? My mind started working a mile a minute. mentally reviewing every component, every circuit that I had examined and re-examined over the past few days. "What is missing?" I asked, already anticipating that it wouldn't be something trivial. Church made a pinching motion with his fingers, and a detailed hologram of the reactor appeared between us. He pointed to a specific point inside the nucleus. "The missing element is called badassium. It is a unique creation, developed by a unique mind." "Badassium?" he questioned in disbelief. "How is it possible that a new element was created without the scientific community knowing about it?" Church laughed as if he had been expecting that question. "That's the point, Doctor. Badassium is a material that only we know how to synthesize. It is a compound that has extraordinary energetic properties, capable of stabilizing and amplifying the flow of energy in an efficient and safe way. Without it, the arc reactor will not function as intended." A hologram then displays an animation of badassium being integrated into the reactor, showing its unique properties in action. "Fascinating," I murmured, amazed. "But why tell me this now? How can I help you?" Church took a holographic step closer, his voice becoming serious. "We know that Atlas is interested in the technology. Weiss Schnee will contact you offering the knowledge, and if necessary, even hardware to synthesize the element in exchange for political agreements with the Council of Atlas." On the holographic display, several topographic maps showed deposits of minerals and dust that the Kingdom of Atlas would love to get its hands on. "But let's focus on what we can do now. I need to speed up your research, and I would like something in return." I felt a shiver of excitement and apprehension. "First, I would like to know what you mean by accelerating research." "Best case scenario, you'll have a working prototype for field testing in 15 months, which isn't bad, but to help my boss, I need you to be faster." I nodded, curious to know how he intended to help me. "Most of this time you will spend trying to synthesize a stable form of badassium, adapt your hardware to arc reactor power, and write code to handle energy fluctuations and other small things. But with my help, you will be ready in less than 2 months for field testing after receiving the element." My eyebrows raise in surprise. "And what does Sir Arc want in exchange for this help?" "Relax, I have a list." On the hologram, a list of requirements was projected. "But I do not understand," I commented, confused. "Mr. Arc is Miss Schnee's partner. Why would he want something separate without her knowledge? Let's say Jaune doesn't even know we're having this conversation." Point of view, Audra Taurus. I was furious at myself for letting my guard down and almost costing the life of the only human who cared about menagerie. Furious at Jaune for convincing me to give this terrorist intern, who tried to kill him, a chance, and also for stopping me from taking her head off and leaving her body to rot in the desert. And most of all, I'm mad at myself because part of me agrees with the blonde boy. Part of me thinks that Ilya is just a deluded girl who still has salvation, just like Adam once did. With Ilya trapped in the trunk, we made a tense and silent trip to the Blackbird. A trip that Jaune made a point of going over all the rocks and jumping over all the dunes he found on the way, laughing that Ilya always got hurt on the bump. As soon as we entered the Blackbird, Jaune tied the prisoner to one of the ship's seats. "You're not going to torture her, right?" Boudica Nikos asked, pointing to Ilya, "because I doubt she will cooperate by telling the truth without some kind of incentive." In this, the human is right. Just because we spared her doesn't mean she will tell the truth. I could try to talk to her, show her that she's wrong, but my talk no jutsu isn't that good. "Talk what?" Nikos asks, confused. Without answering, Jaune walked over to the prisoner and crouched down to look her eye to eye. "Last chance," Jaune said in a serious voice. "Will you pitch in and answer some questions?" Ilya's only response was to close her eyes and turn away. Jaune sighed tiredly and held out his hand with a strange golden mist emerging from it. His countenance, I thought to myself. As soon as the fog dissipated, a strange orange weapon appeared in his hand. "This is a ray of truth," he said, pointing to the toy gun. "It turns off all of a target's brain inhibitors, which makes them incapable of lying and also makes them reveal the truth." "Avip, no image this time. I want to see if anyone knows the reference in the comments for this ray." We were all shocked. The boy had revealed never-before-seen technology, as if it were nothing. Unlike the original version, this one only lasts for 3 questions. After that the person returns to normal and the person is immune for 1 hour, Jaune said, pointing the gun that looked like a toy towards Ilya. But before he could fire, I walked in front, putting my hand on the gun, pointing it downwards. Not that I'm against using the little psychopath as a guinea pig, the human said in a worried tone, but how do you know it really works? Behind the human, Ilya was in a cold sweat, finally realizing the risk she was taking, while Jaune faced the weapon sideways and analyzed it. Zap. That is, until he shot himself. Try to lie while answering these questions, Nico said. What color is the blackbird? Nikos asks. Easy black, Jaune replied without realizing what he had said. Her bodyguard didn't seem convinced, so what followed was a battery of questions where Boudica tried to make Jaune lie. Is Glinda an easy-going person? The human asks for the second time. Not even sleeping makes that woman relax. Is Port a straightforward person telling his stories? And that was the third done. He's only direct when it comes to punching you in the face during training. If what Jaune said is true, then next time he can lie. Does Professor Oobleck speak slowly and calmly? He sure doesn't look like he snorts a mile of powder cocaine mixed with coffee. From the look of Boudica, the first 3 had been true, and the last had been a lie, as Jaune had explained. And you're immune now? I asked curiously. Without thinking twice, Jaune shot himself. Zap. I decided to take advantage of the opportunity and try to find out Jaune's opinion on the SDC. In your opinion, is Jakshni a good man? I asked, swallowing hard. The question about the CEO of the SDC caught my attention from Ilya, who stretched out to hear Jaune's answer clearly. That's a good one, Jaune said, giving a genuine laugh, only to change his posture and tone of voice to something more aggressive. He is certainly the kindest, most honest and charitable living soul in all of Remnant, replied Jaune, laughing in a sarcastic tone. Those words removed a weight from my back, even though he wasn't under the effect of the truth ray. It was good to hear from Jaune that he wasn't a jerk from the SDC. To be honest, if their daughters didn't have any appreciation for him, I would punch that asshole in the face until he swallowed all his teeth, only to then break his hands and legs and throw him into a grim-infested forest to be eaten alive. I hoped that Jaune wouldn't like the old schnee, but his discretion in violence only made me feel more relieved to trust him. Isn't that a bit hypocritical coming from the guy who wants to give his killer a second chance? The nosy human asked. Jaune looked at her, but instead of answering, he just shrugged before firing his truth ray at Ilya. The girl stared at Jaune, terrified, as if the young man was really going to torture her. Zap. Why did you try to kill me? The young red-haired faunus squirmed in her seat, using all her strength to hold back her words as she simply responded. Because you want to colonize the island and enslave the faunus. Confused by the statement, I tried to question it. What the? But before I could ask, Jaune raised his arm, silencing me. What does the White Fang want with me? Jaune asked, this time in a more serious tone. Ilya tried to hold on once again, but this time her resistance was less. Ideally, we would like you to die in one of your stupid practices fighting Grimm, but if you could leave and never come back, that would be perfect, preferably before you gain the trust of more faunus. This is interesting. It seems like Jaune's good reputation is bothering the Fang leadership. If I free you, will you try to kill me again? The question was met by an uncomfortable silence in the ship. Ilya was in a cold sweat as she panted tiredly, as if she had run a marathon. I have no orders to kill you. My paranoia took over me, and in the heat of the moment I tried to kill you. I won't kill you on my own, but an episode like that in the car could happen again if I stayed close to you, or if it was direct orders from the great leader, I would execute you without thinking twice. I see, Jaune grumbled, digesting the information he just received. Paranoia or not, a cold-blooded murder attempt is something that haunts anyone's thoughts. No matter how kind Jaune is, it is impossible to simply forgive or ignore such an action. You can let her go. What? Nikos and I shouted. Point of view, Jaune Arc. Despite it being a cold night in the Menagerie Desert, sweat dripped down my forehead, mixing with the dust on the ground and forming a thick paste that stained my cheeks. It was a very long and busy day, so I decided to indulge and relax a little. Cheers, we shouted together, toasting. I raised the wooden mug to my mouth and drank the golden, icy liquid of the gods. Finally, exclaimed Amber using her disguise, I needed a beer, but you could have gotten an IPA instead of this cheap stuff. Don't bother, rude girl, said Audra, who had already dried her 5th mug. You're drinking for free. My dad always said, beer can be cheap as long as it's stupidly cold, there's no problem, I commented, smiling at both of them. Earlier, Audra and Amber complained a lot when I let Ilya return to Fang unharmed. To calm them down, I decided to reward them in the best way a Brazilian can do. Barbecue and alcohol. Multiverse crafting system. What would you like to do? Magic, 75,287 points. Aura, 100%. We were all exhausted, so we ate and drank without restriction. Anticipating this, I ended up spending 200 points on supplies to stock the ship's freezer with meat and drinks. In addition to the 10,000, I spent creating new security equipment. Amber wasn't eating much, but when it came to drinking, it seemed like she was trying to make up for lost time from the coma. The Cachacera drank about 3 liters of beer in less than an hour, only to then move on to the caipirinha. This is delicious, Amber said, downing her 5th drink, so sweet and lemony. You shouldn't be mixing it up like that, kid, Audra said wisely. I drink to make myself sick. If I wanted to feel better, I would take medicine, Amber said, laughing at her own comment like crazy. Audra, on the other hand, was drinking like a camel and eating like a horse. I love that woman. I thought the people of Vale didn't know how to roast meat over wood coal, comments Audra, attacking the flank steak. Trying not to arouse suspicion, I respond with a shrug. Thanks to the alcohol, Audra didn't delve deeper into the subject, and Amber started to draw all the attention to herself. Thank you, brother Gods, Amber screamed, crying as she raised her 9th glass of caipirinha. I spent so long stuck in that TU-hic tube, but now I'm here in Hickey and Joing life, drinking and eating. She finished her shouted speech by taking another sip of her drink before staggering towards me. And it's all thanks to this kid. Amber cuts herself when she trips on a rock hidden by the desert sands. Lucky for her, I managed to catch her before she fell. I try to pull her to her feet, but she holds me in a hug. Thank you, Jaune, she whispers whimperingly into my shoulder. Thank you for giving me my life back. Despite her rum breath, I feel touched by Amber's speech. I return the hug, trying to comfort her. I even think about saying something to calm her down, but... grrgghhh, snored the girl in my arms. She fell asleep hugging me. I'm going to take her to bed, I said, turning to Audra. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Audra nodded, drinking another beer. After putting Amber in her bed and asking Delta to keep an eye on the ship, I went back to the grill that Audra had just put out. I took the last meat off the fire, she said, placing the sliced picanha in front of me. As we were alone, Audra seemed tense and reflective, but even with the charged atmosphere of the night, I didn't hesitate to indulge in the meat in front of me. Jaune, the redhead said while I was enjoying my meal. Still with my mouth busy, I raised my face to look at her curiously, and to my surprise I came across an Audra that I had never seen before. The confidence and determination that characterized her seemed to have dissipated, replaced by an aura of uncertainty and melancholy that I had never noticed about her before. I just wanted to, she began, but stopped abruptly as she reached for the bottle I had used to prepare the caipirinha. I need some courage. I froze wide-eyed as I watched her begin to drink directly from the bottle of sugar cane liquor. This was not something I would recommend to anyone, considering the high alcohol content of pinga, which exceeds 50%. I swallowed the barely chewed food and tried to take the bottle from her hands, but it was too late. Audra had already consumed more than half a liter of its contents. As soon as she finished, she wiped her mouth on the sleeve of her t-shirt and approached me with a confident, drunken step, grabbed me by the shoulders and lifted me up without any difficulty. Even though I was barely taller than her breasts, I used all my willpower to look her eye to eye. I will never make alcohol with my semblance again, I thought to myself before she spoke. I wanted to thank you for stopping me from killing Ilya, she said with an aggressive breath of cachaça, making my eyes water. What she did was wrong, but killing her wouldn't have solved anything. Good, I responded with tears streaming from my eyes. Audra, now unarmed and vulnerable, her green eyes filled with tears and guilt. The relentless warrior I had known was falling apart before me, revealing a soul weakened by pain and doubt. I didn't want to hurt her, she murmured, her voice hoarse from the drink, but she reminded me so much of Adam that anger consumed me at once. A pain in my heart dominated me. Audra's fury was understandable. Adam was walking a path of no return, and when she saw Ilya take her first step in the same direction, she lost control. She looked down, trying to ask me a question, but nothing came out of her but babbling and whimpering. Trying to encourage her, I held their hands. Audra lifted her face, stained with tears and desert sand, and swallowed hard before asking me, "Could you do the same for Adam?" Point of view, Audra Toros. The number of bodies my son left behind, and the unhealthy fixation he has on Blake, combined with the ideology that the end justifies any means, make Adam a difficult person to forgive. Jaune's bodily reaction, combined with his delay in responding to me, ended up being enough to make the boy's intentions clear. "I understand," I replied bitterly, looking away. "Some people are beyond saving." "No," shouted the boy, looking at me. I stared at the young man, surprised by his cry of denial, waiting for what he was going to say. "Ilya is a deluded girl, and Adam has been at it for so long that..." He trailed off, trying to find some way to finish the sentence. "I don't know if I can redeem him. How about if I capture him alive?" Silence hung between us as I processed Jaune's words. His blue eyes, now more determined, studied my face for any sign of doubt or hesitation. Finally, I let out a heavy sigh, as if releasing a burden I had been carrying for a long time. "Capture alive," I murmured, considering the idea. "But it will be a dangerous mission," Jaune continued. "Adam will not give in easily. He is a competent combatant who would not hesitate to kill me if I got in his way." I nodded, accepting the grim reality of the situation. "But I'm going after that idiot. I will lasso him, knock him down and castrate him as a gift to make him softer," the young man added, giving his classic idiotic smile. My jaw hit the floor instantly, and the boy was smiling as if I hadn't said something really stupid. "You just compared my bull faunus son to a calf in a rodeo." Jaune's eyes widened, finally realizing what nonsense he had said. "My Saint Benedict, I'm so sorry," but he cuts himself off mid-excuse. He stops in the same place, only to then look at me, blinking his eyes confused, as if he is unsure about something. "Did you say son?" he asked in disbelief. I looked at him with a raised eyebrow, confused by his question, but I nodded as if the young man had asked the stupidest question in the world. Shocked, he stuttered, trying to process the answer. "Mo. Why is he stuttering?" I thought to myself. Good thing I know the cure. "Slap." A slap to the face. "Are you his mother?" yelled Jaune in surprise. "We have the same last name. I thought you were his hot older sister." "Oh, that's funny," I laughed in a sarcastic tone. "Funny?" he questioned in amazement. "You are one of the most beautiful women I have ever seen in my life, and you live on a desert island, you're practically dehydrated, and you do manual labor on the sun every day. It's impossible for you to be over 25. Blushing at the boy's praise, I coughed into my hand, trying to regain my posture. "There's no point in throwing false praise my way," I refuted, raising my voice. "I know you're disgusted, or at least don't trust me." "What?" He seemed sincere in his doubt, but my blood boiled at his hypocritical response. "I'm talking about your distrust." Encouraged by alcohol, I decided to get everything off my chest at once. "It infuriates me every time I see you looking at me from the corner of your eye, looking like you're judging me and waiting for me to betray you. Your eyes fixed on me, without blinking, made me nervous and embarrassed. I feel a mixture of frustration and hurt every time I see that look of disdain on your face. I wonder what I did to make you not trust me." Jaune was completely frozen, unable to answer me, so I continued to speak. "At first I thought you were a racist, but you treat all the faunus on the island with kindness and generosity. Even that brat who tried to kill you, you treated her with respect." I stopped sighing, holding back tears. "Why is it only me that you look like that? What's wrong with me?" I asked desolately. "Is it because I'm related to Adam? Is it because you are so close to the Belladonna family that you cannot tolerate me?" Jaune began to shake and break into a cold sweat, his eyes moving in every direction but me. He stared down at his hands as if he were lost. Frustrated, I grabbed his head and focused on my eyes. "What's wrong with me?" My alcohol-laden breath made the young man's eyes water, but he swallowed hard and answered me with his eyes closed. "Your breasts." "My what?" I asked, confused. I was staring at these divine pillows you call tits, where I dream of hibernating. I took a step back in disbelief at the answer. After all, it couldn't be that simple. Was it all this time just teenage hormones? I thought to myself. Impossible, why would someone so young be interested in an old woman like me? There are also these toned thighs that I want to use as headphones. My face turns red as a tomato, embarrassed and a little flattered by Jaune's lewd comments. "And look at that ass," he said, pointing to my back. "Perky and perfect," Jaune comments, sighing at my behind. Surely he is exaggerating, I think, forcing myself not to believe him. I would commit war crimes, just so you could sit on my face with that wonderful dump truck. An awkward silence ensues as I process everything Jaune had said. So all this time it was just carnal desire, was it just physical attraction? He gave a yellow smile, avoiding looking at me directly. "I know it's not the answer you were hoping for, but it's the truth. I was attracted to you from the first moment I saw you." "But I'm a faunus," I protested. "Much older than you, and on top of that I'm the mother of a wanted terrorist." In response, he simply shrugs his shoulders, as if the differences were no big deal. I haven't thought about that kind of thing in a long time. I reflect internally. I think, since my husband's death to the grim Leviathan Dread Shadow. Since that time I have focused on protecting the faunus of menagerie, and as a result I have built a reputation as a feared and respected fighter who has alienated anyone who might be interested in me romantically or sexually. And now comes this young, muscular, blonde human with blue hair and a sculptural body. Before giving in to my carnal instincts, I cut myself on the spot. "Stop it, Audra, he's younger than your son." Dormant feelings begin to boil inside me, mixed with the alcohol. A strange dizziness takes over my mind as I feel my stomach twist, giving me a sick feeling. "I am flattered that a young man could be attracted to me, B, but I think you exaggerated a bit, don't you?" I asked, trying to make the subject lighter. Unlike me, Jaune was completely sober, and for some reason he seemed offended by my question. "Exaggerated?" he exclaims indignantly. "I have to wear 3 pairs of underwear when I go out with you without armor so people don't notice when my dick is hard." "Stop lying," I shouted embarrassedly, not knowing how to respond. "Do you want me to prove it?" he asked, gesturing to the belt of his pants. "Wait," I asked, taking my hands to his pants. But as soon as I bent down to reach my pants, I felt a nauseating dizziness that threw me to the ground. POF. With my face covered in sand, I looked ahead and noticed that I had pulled down Jaune's pants. I slowly looked up, and when I saw the piece, I vomited. "Oh no," Jaune grumbled, "my shoes." I tried to get up to apologize and offer to clean up what I had messed up, but the dizziness and nausea hit again, causing me to fall to the side this time. "Audra." Jaune's voice echoed far away as my vision darkened. Point of view, Ilia Amatola. I walk alone through the halls of the White Fang base, my heart heavy with a bitter mix of frustration and shame. Sienna Khan's words still echo in my mind, each syllable cutting like a sharp blade. I never imagined that my loyalty and determination would take me to this point, a public reprimand, a humiliation that burns more than any physical wound. I shouldn't have acted on my own. Attacking Jaune Arc was a mistake according to the venerable leader Khan. An unprovoked assassination attempt on a VIP visitor would tarnish the honor of the White Fang and provide more ammunition for those who label us as bloodthirsty terrorists. The only reason I'm not expelled from the order is because the human won't announce my attack. "Greeting, Sister Amatola," a sneaky voice comes from a dark corridor. I turn to the newly arrived voice and come across Fennec Albane. "Greetings, Brother Alvian," I respond by giving a small bow to the veteran of the order. "One more time, I beg." I tried to apologize once again, but he cut me off by raising a hand. He gives me a smug smile that sends shivers down my spine. "I'm not here to judge, much less punish you, Sister Amatola," he says, approaching me and placing a hand on my shoulder. "Actually, I came to congratulate you." My eyes widened at the statement. I look the veteran faunus in the eyes looking for some lie or trick on his part, but all he offers is a friendly smile. Although I agree with the venerable leader Khan that it was not wise to act spontaneously guided by your emotions, I know you were seeking the good of the people of Menagerie and all faunus. Your words are like a balm for the wounds in my ego. I silently focus all my attention on Fennec Albane's words. The venerable leader is strong, but she carries the weight of our entire organization on her shoulders. That's why she punished you for acting in such a way. He says in a sad tone, as if he is disappointed in this way of thinking of Sienna Khan. Still, she needs reliable allies, people willing to act in the shadows when necessary. In the shadows, I repeated, frowning. Fennec smiled, a more sinister smile on her thin lips than the last. You are very special, Sister Amatola. Your gifts allow you to be our best intelligence agent. Without noticing the compliment, I relaxed my body, making myself feel special for the cause. From what I heard, you know where the human hides his bullhead, don't you? I swallow hard but respond by shaking my head. Perfect, he whispers. I have a secret mission for you. You will lead a group of the White Fang's most loyal members to the humans' ship. To do what? I ask curiously. Fennec laughs softly, almost whispering. Unfortunately, this is a compartmentalized mission, explains Fennec in a dry tone, but I guarantee you that if you accept this mission, Jaune Arc will be driven off the island by the population and will never return. He finishes speaking by extending his hand to me. Swallowing hard, I accept what needs to be done and raise my hand to shake his. After this informal pact, Fennec raises his hands in front of his body and connects his fingertips, speaking in a suspicious and sinister tone. Excellent. Point of view, Ordre Taurus. Arog, I moaned loudly, regaining my consciousness. My eyes slowly opened like lead weights, and the sunlight made me moan even more. My mouth was as dry as the desert, and each breath felt like the scrape of sandpaper across my throat. I tried to move, but my body protested with every muscle aching. My thoughts were cloudy and fragmented, like pieces of a puzzle that didn't fit together. Where I am, what happened? I questioned myself mentally. I looked around and recognized my bedroom. Broken swords and rusty axes and other irreparable weapons hung on the walls, trophies of my past battles. But something was different. My books and other papers were arranged in piles on the table next to the wall. Layers of dust that were common in the corners of the room had disappeared, and a lavender smell permeated the place. The room was impeccably clean, with no traces of dust or clutter. Who did this? I questioned out loud. With a monumental effort, I sat up in bed. Nausea overcame me, and I had to fight the storm in my stomach to keep from vomiting. What the hell happened last night? I muttered to myself. I tried to remember once again, but my mind was still a confusing jumble of memories. Little by little I remembered having beaten that crazy girl, arguing with Arc, and then he offered drinks and food to make peace. But after that, a pain makes my brain throb inside my skull as I remember some sort of conversation with Jaune, and then I remember throwing up on his shoe. Oh shit, I complained loudly. I got up carefully. Every step was a battle against dizziness and pain from a damn hangover. Arriving at the bedroom door, I hear a noise coming from the kitchen, a soft sound of dishes clashing and the bubbling of something cooking. With my curiosity aroused, I headed towards the sounds. Who's in my kitchen? I ask myself in a whisper. My bare feet touch the cold wooden floor as I walk towards the kitchen. The noise that woke me up still persists, a metallic sound that leaves me intrigued and cautious. Sunlight invades the house through the windows, creating golden streaks on the floor and illuminating every corner. I smell a delicious scent filling the air, something that reminds me of chicken and vegetable soup. The metallic sound intensifies coming from the kitchen. My steps become faster, curiosity drives me forward. Upon entering the kitchen, my eyes widened in surprise. The scene before me is surreal, like something out of a horny teenager's dream. Jaune Arc, esteemed friend of the Belladonna family, the first non-faunus to visit Menagerie as a VIP, and also the human most committed to helping all faunus, is standing in the middle of the kitchen shirtless, wearing a blue apron, with a pan in his hand and a friendly smile on his face. As soon as he notices me, he opens that bright smile even wider, as if he's trying to stun me with happiness. Good morning, sleepyhead, he says with an amused tone in his voice. Actually, good afternoon, almost night, he says looking out the window at the setting sun. Looks like someone overslept. Jaune, I ask stunned, what are you doing here? He ignored my question and approached me, handing me a bowl with some of the soup that was in the pot he was holding. The aroma hit me before I could even see the dish. It was a mixture of complex and comforting fragrances of chicken cooked with different seasonings, which immediately made me salivate. I had never felt anything like this before. The smell was like a warm, enveloping hug, a promise of flavor that I couldn't wait to taste. Before eating, drink some water, he says, heading back to the kitchen. Sit down and eat slowly, you need to eat after last night, he says, pointing to the soup in front of me. That's called escaldado. My countrymen created this dish specifically to deal with hangovers. Last night, I repeat, still confused. What happened last night? Jaune sits at the table and looks at me with a knowing smile. Well, he begins, let's say you drank and spilled a lot, and I'm not just talking about you throwing up on my shoes. No, I whimpered helplessly at what I did the night before. He tells me about the events of the night before, about how I drank too much, how we argued about Adam, how I ended up throwing up on his shoe only to lose consciousness and have to carry me home. The only thing that makes me feel relieved is that Jaune said that no one saw us in the dead of night entering my house. As he spoke, I remember it all in fragments, like pieces of a puzzle starting to fit together. I feel my face flush with embarrassment and my eyes drop to the floor. Sorry about the shoes, I murmur, not knowing what else to say. Don't worry about that, he says, laughing. I already washed them, and after a day of menagerie they are already dry. He serves me a plate of toast and encourages me to eat the soup while it's still hot. Paying attention to the food in front of me, I see generous pieces of shredded chicken breast floating on the surface, mixed with diced tomatoes, onions and peppers, which give the soup a welcoming and colourful appearance. The egg yolks inside are intact, firm and shiny, like little yellow jewels nestled in the broth. The surface is sprinkled with the bright green of chives, coriander and parsley, adding a final touch of freshness. Carefully, I pick up the spoon and bring it to my mouth. Hooam, I moan while enjoying the soup. It's like an explosion of flavours, with every spoonful a new discovery. The soup had some kind of flour, added carefully to avoid lumps. This provides a creamy and comforting texture to the soup. And the eggs are a revelation in themselves. Carefully placed into the simmering broth, the egg whites cooked perfectly, while the yolks remained whole and deliciously rich. Each spoonful that includes a piece of egg yolk brings a velvety flavour that mixes wonderfully with the broth and other ingredients. He cooked this wonder all by himself, I question mentally. I thought rich humans were lazy, useless people when it came to domestic chores. The food is delicious, warm and comforting, and slowly the fog of pain and tiredness in my mind lifts. It's like this food really can cure hangovers, I think to myself. While I eat, I talk to Jaune about the night before, about Adam and what happened between us. He listens to me with patience and understanding while he washes the dishes and helps me process my emotions. At the end of our conversation, I feel lighter, as if a heavy burden has been lifted from my shoulders. I realize that Jaune doesn't judge me, but rather welcomes me with understanding and empathy. He assures me that the simple act of talking about my afflictions is an important step towards overcoming them, and that his presence as a listener is something natural and that anyone could have done for me. This kid has a heart of gold and doesn't even know it, I reflect while looking at him. Jaune takes the bowl away from me as soon as I finish eating that wonderful soup. Seeing the boy washing the rest of the dishes with his back turned, I remember something I wanted to ask. Were you the one who cleaned my house? Jaune turns around, still holding a bowl he had just washed. He smiles that radiant smile. Yes, it was me. I looked around, seeing the spotless kitchen and remembering my room, so clean and organized. I feel a mixture of gratitude and shame rising inside me for having my home organized by a teenager. He not only took care of me while I was vulnerable, but he also cleaned my house. This gesture meant more than he could imagine. How long has it been since someone took care of me? I reflect in silence as old memories surface in my mind. I've been alone for so long. No one has had dinner with me since my husband was killed by the dread shadow and Adam abandoned me. Having someone here looking out for me makes me let my guard down and relax for the first time in a long time. Jaune, you really didn't have to do all that, I say, trying to hide the blush that spreads across my face. The boy, still smiling, responds, I wanted to help you, so it wasn't a big deal, he adds, shrugging. As he puts away the dishes, I see him flexing his arm a little, making me notice how fit he is. His defined muscles stand out in the kitchen light, and I can't help but feel a shiver run down my spine. One night of drinking and dinner and I already want to jump on him. I question myself internally. What's wrong with me? I'm too old for that, and I have too many problems for someone who still has their whole life ahead. I cut through my self-reproach for being attracted to Jaune when he shows something shocking. Jaune turns his back to put a pot in a low cabinet, revealing the type of clothing he was wearing from the waist down. By the animal god, what are those shorts? The boy was wearing one of those running shorts, made of a light, breathable material. It fits perfectly around his hips and thighs, outlining every muscle and curve of Jaune's body. It's hard to look away, and I feel warm inside just watching him. When Jaune turns around, he seems to notice me looking at him, and our eyes meet. He gives me a bright smile with zero malice, and I feel my heart beat faster. I look away quickly, embarrassed, but I can't help the tingling sensation running through my body. Yesterday he said I was one of the most attractive women in the world, but instead of taking advantage of me while I was defenseless, he cleaned my house and made food for me. I think, looking at the young man who was now cleaning the sink, if I were younger and he was a little older, I would break his pelvis beneath me, giving him a vacuum rodeo. A big part of me knows I shouldn't be thinking those things about him, but I can't help it. He is simply a kind, strong and beautiful man, with big muscular arms, a toned back and a little ass that I want to leave full of bite marks. And also him wearing an apron without a shirt and wearing tight shorts is making me salivate across the north and south. Damn it, I scolded myself for being so obsessed with his body. I need to distract myself with something. I took a deep breath and forced myself to look away. My mind needed an urgent escape. Jaune was a dangerous distraction, but maybe I could use him to distract me in another way. A good-looking boy like you who can clean and cook must be popular in Beacon. I started by trying to sound casual. There must be a girlfriend or two waiting at home, right? Jaune pauses for a second, looking at me. He seemed caught off guard by the question, but his smile remained. She giggled as she turned to dry her hands on her apron. That's a complicated story, he replied, his blue eyes shining with a mix of nostalgia and humor. There are 1 or 2 girls that I think are into me, he said slowly, but no girlfriend or anything more serious. The answer intrigued me, so I decided to continue and get more information. Wise. He sighed and sat across the table from me, crossing his arms and leaning back, balancing on the back legs of the chair, looking up at the ceiling. When I got to Beacon, I had 0 training. He responds hesitantly, as if he's not sure what he's talking about. I think I was so focused on getting better that I didn't try anything with anyone. His tone didn't show confidence in what he was saying, but I wasn't sure if he was lying or just withholding part of the story. I think it's better to get straight to the point. Are you gays? Thumpy. My response was Jaune falling backwards onto the ground. Ouch, he speaks sarcastically, lying on the ground, but he still responds, I am straight. Who am I? Murmur, looking across the table. Are you sure? He jumps to his feet and frowns at me, more irritated than angry. Yes, I am, replies Jaune in a dry tone. An uncomfortable silence settled between us. Although Jaune was irritated, he didn't seem so uncomfortable. Proof of this is that the young boy still glanced at me from the corner of his eye when he thought I wasn't paying attention. In the past, I thought he was making sure where I was, as if he was making sure where his enemy was, but today I know that this man was admiring me, desiring me. Are you really sure? I asked with a lewd smile appearing on my lips. Now frustrated, he throws his arms up in surrender, as if he had given up answering me. Don't give up, you hot blonde idiot, I begged internally to any deity that could hear me. He gets up and walks towards me, frustrated. Next to me, he slams his hand on the table and asks, confused and irritated. What do I need to do to convince you? Jaune asks with his chest puffed out, imposing an authoritarian air on me. I grin a wild, hungry smile, excited about the prey that has fallen into my trap, ready for the taking. I slowly stand up, looking deep into the young human's eyes. As soon as my eyes pass the height of his forehead, the young man's shoulders begin to deflate, his posture that portrayed him as an authoritative figure evaporates. When I'm finally standing, Jaune's eyes are a little higher than the height of my cleavage. At first I stay silent, trying to read his reactions, to see if he still shows any interest in my body. MGNN, the young man grumbles as if he were making a physical effort. My worries disappear when I notice his trembling and hesitant eyes. It wasn't like someone avoiding direct looks so as not to discover his secrets. Jaune Arc's eyes were twitching because the young man was using all his concentration to look at my eyes instead of my cleavage. Licking my lips, I slowly approach him, supporting his chin to help him keep his gaze on me. Glad you asked, my little calf. I get even closer with my lips close to his ear, I whisper. Would you like to show me if it is true? Jaune's body shivers all over. Up close I can even see the hairs on the back of his neck standing up. For a second I worry that maybe I've gone too far and he'll reject me in disgust. But to my surprise, Jaune grabs me by the shoulders with a firm, powerful grip and pulls me away just enough to look me in the eyes and show a sudden change in his behavior. Shocked by the change, I stand without reaction, trying to process the transformation before me. The tension in his body was gone, and in its place was an intimidating serenity, as if he had finally found his purpose. His gaze was unwavering, piercing my soul, resolute and firm like steel beams forged in the best factories in Atlas. I couldn't help but feel attracted to him, intrigued by this metamorphosis. He made me feel a strange mix of nervousness and excitement, like a girl on her first date. Let's fucking go.
I hope you enjoyed my work. If you'd like more, check out the links in the video description. Goodbye for now.